lads, it's
Lauren Daisy.
welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a Pretty Little Liars Original Sin review, analysis, debrief, predictions, theories, everything just in one big video. The only episodes that have come out so far is 1, 2 and 3, so those are the ones we're going to be talking about today. This video is going to be split into I think about 7 parts, but I'll have the chapters down the bottom. So basically we're going to talk about each episode, just kind of a bit briefly, to be honest, just things I kind of picked up on, things I wrote down as I was watching it, and then we're going to talk about the main 5 girls, kind of my impressions of them from what we've seen so far, and then we're going to talk about couples. We don't have that many yet, but just kind of initial thoughts about them, and then finally we're going to talk about my theories, things I think might happen, you know, just in general plot line, and then finally at the end we're going to talk specifically theories or like predictions of who I think from what we've seen so far could potentially be Thought this kind of cardigan like kind of fit the PLL Original Sin vibe. Like they're going for a very, I don't know, it's very my colour palette. I really liked it. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing today. So I'm going to do my makeup kind of at the same time while we're chit-chatting. So firstly with the first episode, I was just really excited, to be honest. It like gave me the kind of joy that I got watching the original PLL, like when that would come out every week. I don't know, I was just really excited to be excited about a new show because I haven't really had that for a while, to be honest. It was a lot of fun to like sit down. I was watching it with my mum and my boyfriend, and just genuinely be like excited and like to want to know what's going to happen. So that was really fun. And then the theme song, goosebumps. It was so good. Like just the remix of it, like the fact that they kept it. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be PLL without that theme song, to be fair, but I just loved it. I haven't had a proper look at the intro. I feel like there's probably clues in there. So yeah, with the kind of opening bit, obviously we see the mums. To be honest, I don't really have too much to say about the mums. Obviously I think there's maybe like more involvement that we're like seeing, and that's going to kind of come out more, like why Davy seemed to hate Angela so much. Like maybe it's kind of like mirroring how much Karen hated Imogen, like that kind of thing. And you don't really get to see too much of the other mums, to be fair. Like Mouse's mum, we don't really know anything about her yet, but that kind of mirrors as well like how Mouse kind of is. She's kind of quiet as well. Like they're obviously all quite deeply affected by what happened. I don't know if, I feel like I was like, oh, we're going to talk about the first episode, but now I'm actually just like getting straight into theories and stuff like that anyway. But maybe Noah's mum and the drugs, like maybe that is kind of as a result of just the kind of trauma of that whole situation, maybe. I guess the second one that we kind of know the most about, I think her name is Sydney, Tabby's mum. She's the one that kind of seems to feel at least a little bit bad. Like when Angela was asking for help, you know, she kind of went to Davy and Sydney rather than Mouse's mum, Faran and Noah's mum. So I don't know if that kind of means something, like maybe they kind of were maybe close friends and then something happened and Davy kind of made them all distance themselves from her. I don't really know. Then obviously we meet Karen. I don't really understand why Karen was there, unless they explained that and I like missed it, but I don't really understand why Karen was there. If they explained it and I missed it, can someone let me know in the comments like why she was there at Imogen's house, but whatever. I again, unless I missed it in the teasers or anything, like I was shocked when Imogen's mum died, because yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I kind of thought she would be a bit more of a, you know, main character, helping Imogen with the baby and the pregnancy and everything. So right from the get-go they like had me like this, like I was invested like right from the start. And with the A in blood on the wall, like it was so good. I feel like they really, it was just such a good opening scene, because it was really like, okay, yeah, we have the Pretty Little Liars name, but we aren't here to mess around. Like, we are gonna go in on the horror. And it was just, it was so good. Like, it was so good. Then obviously we kind of established that Karen is our antagonist, but again, I'm just going straight into the theories. It's not really a theory so much as an observation that, like, obviously the liars are supposed to be our protagonists, but they're not necessarily like really good people. I feel like with the original liars, the OG liars, I don't know what to call them, because the original liars are obviously the originals, but then this is called original sin, so then does it sound like I'm saying like the original sin liars? I don't know. I feel like I need a way to distinguish them. Maybe just the OG liars and the new liars. But yeah, with the OG liars, I think there was a lot of likability to them, a lot of showing their core friendship, and how they looked out for each other. I thought they, I mean, I know some people maybe don't find all of them so likable. Maybe that's just coming from an Aria fan, but they were very likable, and I think people really gravitated towards them. They had this real sweet, kind of, I guess, innocent vibe, especially in season 1. That's when you really are introduced to them, when they are just sweet and they're laughing together, and you know, they kind of come together over this big tragedy, right? Whereas the loss of their friend. Whereas in this, it's a completely different tone, and I really like it, because it's kind of like I said before in my original thoughts video, it's kind of the theme-ish of Pretty Little Liars. You know, you've got the A and you've got the friends and everything, and like kind of the murder mystery element, right? But it's almost been like flipped on its head. So whereas before the girls bonded over the tragedy of losing their friend, and they were so close and they would do anything for each other, we kind of have a friend group that has been brought together not over tragedy but over revenge. That was kind of why they became friends. So it's not really a good foundation for friendship, and none of them are friends before we see them, which I think is interesting as well, because obviously with the original lies you have that backstory of knowing that they were all friends before that, so that's kind of already established, and you don't have to build those bonds. You kind of have to like reintroduce them, as kind of how we see them now, but that foundation and knowing that they were really close before is already there. Whereas with these guys, it's a lot different, because we're literally seeing their friendship from the very conception of it, and you've got that interesting thing of like, well, like Faran said, you know, are they really our friends? And that they could turn on each other, like, but they could not. There's just a lot more kind of mystery around, will they stay together as a group, will they look out for each other, will they betray each other, you know, what's all of their intentions, I suppose. Whereas with the original liars, obviously a lot of people thought that Aria would be A in the end, but I think for me, I never really felt that. I always felt like this friendship is strong, and for me it wouldn't, maybe I need to read some more Aria's A theories as a non-believer. Maybe I'll like do that in a video. But yeah, for me, I always enjoyed the friendship element. It never really made sense to me after seeing the liars all go through that stuff together, that one of them would be A. Whereas this time around, you know, we don't have that really at all. Everyone's kind of in it for themselves a little bit, and we don't really know any of them well enough yet to know that they will have each other's backs, I suppose is what I'm trying to say, which I think is an interesting factor, an interesting kind of spin on it. Karen's kind of introduced as our antagonist, but in the way that the original liars were very, made to be very likable, you know, people that you root for, that you want to be happy, that you want to, you know, kind of get away from A. I do like the new liars as well. This is not me saying I don't like them. I love them all. I think they're all great characters, but I do kind of like that they're not that they're not likable, but they kind of have these elements where they'll say things and you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of mean. Like, or yeah, like you think they might betray each other, or they, you know, they make these snide comments or things, and I just like that. I think it's interesting. I think it creates a lot more kind of depth to them, and yeah, I just think it's just such a contrast, obviously, how we were supposed to feel about the original liars. And the tone is very different, but I really like it. I think for me, I love Pretty Little Liars. I'm always gonna love it. Like, it's always gonna be one of my faves. And I think I really loved it at the time that I watched it, because I started watching it when I was 13, 14, which I think is the same for quite a lot of people, kind of in their teens, and it was perfect for then. But I think it being rebooted now works better for me now, being like 22, if that makes sense. Like, the horror element, the more grown up feeling, the tension, you know, it's not all based around the teen drama like the original, which I still love that shit. Like, I'll eat that shit up all day, but I do like that this feels more intense. The stakes feel higher. It's very, yeah, very horror based, and I really like it. I love the set, I love the style, like the clothes, the colours, yeah, like their houses, the school, everything feels so retro. We see that Karen doesn't like Imogen anymore because she kissed her boyfriend, which obviously we find out later isn't exactly what happened. We still don't know exactly what happened. They're kind of leaving that a bit up in the air. I've really loved all the little like nods to other horror films, like the Child's Play 2 poster at the movie theatre. Obviously Child's Play 2 is one of my favourite movies of all time. The fact that her mum, Faran's mum's law firm is called Strode, Prescott and Ripley Associates, I thought that was so cute. Little like things like that, nods, like how the font that all of the, you know, days of the week are in, and the credits and everything, it's all the Halloween font. I love all that kind of stuff, so I've really been enjoying those. Maybe I'll do like a video on every single like reference and callback to the old PLL that I can find, and like reference to horror films and stuff like that. Obviously I think one of the biggest things, you know, that we kind of found out in that first episode was about the sheriff. Him, and obviously that, I assume, pool boy. I assume it was kind of like a power play kind of thing. Like, I don't think they're obviously in a relationship or anything. It was all very icky, it was all very gross, which, to be honest, I'm surprised like hasn't come up again. Like, I feel like once, I'm surprised like Noah hasn't really mentioned it. Obviously I know she doesn't want to get in trouble with the police, but when he was literally threatening to like put them in jail, I thought maybe she was gonna say something, at least to the other girls. So I'm sure that'll come out at some point. Wes is creepy as all hell, and I clocked it from the minute I saw him. I was like, this is dodgy. Like, he's creepy, he's weird, I don't like him. Obviously I think you're not like meant to. I'll talk more about him and Tabby in my kind of like theories in a minute. I like that A is like actually genuinely like creepy, like it is spooky, and the way that he kind of lurks around and is there, I think it's done really well. It doesn't feel like overly cringy or just kind of like, I don't know, like it feels genuinely spooky, and it's set up really well. And you know, with obviously it kind of gives me like Michael Myers kind of vibes, which I think is was a really good approach to take, because obviously like the A that we know is very like sneaky. It's all, you know, kind of like, is catty the right word? Yeah, kind of like catty behaviour, you know, little jabs and like taunting, whereas this A is a lot more just really creepy. Yeah, I really loved the, you know, when Imogen sees him out the windows, like when Laurie sees Michael out the window in the Halloween film. So yeah, I feel like they've got a good balance between showing A enough, because that can get frustrating, like when you just never see them ever. Like, you know, they're like this big, it's supposed to be this big like horror character, but they're in like 5 minutes of the movie or whatever. So I think there's a good amount, enough for us to kind of learn a bit more about them to be kind of scary. And even just within these 3 episodes, like they've interacted with the girls quite a bit. Obviously, like all of them have seen A and at the, you know, graveyard and everything. I really liked that it's like A is making their presence known, but also it's not too much to the point where it's like, oh god, like every other second is, and it kind of takes away from the scary creepy factor. I think that like the balance is pretty perfect so far anyway. It was so weird, well not weird, but like to see them like swearing and stuff. That's kind of another thing that I like about the fact that it's HBO Max. And like I was saying, you know, it feels like a more, even though they're supposed to be the same age, it still feels like a more grown up kind of PLL, like one more for my age group now, which I do really like. I think that's really fun. I liked them all meeting for the first time in detention, very much, you know, breakfast club vibes. And then, you know, chatting and getting to know each other. That was kind of nice, because you never saw that obviously with the original. They never went back and kind of established how they even became friends. Obviously they said that like Allison chose them, but we don't get to actually see them all like meet each other for the first time, which I think would have been kind of nice. And so I did like that element of it. I feel like it's kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's kind of, when you, like in the old PLL or like Gossip Girl or whatever, sometimes you as the viewer have like a thought of like, oh, they should have just like done this, like they should have just like told them to fuck off, or they should have just like left, or they should have just like, I don't know, like thrown the flowers in the bin, or like something like that. You know, you kind of think like, why do they not like be more angry, or, you know, kind of like get their revenge kind of thing. But in this show, when you think that, they actually like do it. I feel like I'm not going to explain this point well, because I only just thought of it just now, but like you think like, oh, Karen's like a bitch, so like you need to get your revenge, and then they talk about playing this video, and kind of like in that, when you put yourself in that revenge mindset, you're like, yeah, play the video, like obviously like Karen's like, she's evil, play the video. And like sometimes in shows you get it where they don't, and you kind of think like, oh, they should have just done it, but in this show they do. But then you kind of see the repercussions of doing that. Like that kind of revenge fantasy thing, you know, when you have argued with someone or someone has like pissed you off, and then later on, like, you know, you think about the things that you should have said or the things that you could have done, or you kind of think like, oh, if I, you know, if I knew I wasn't going to get in trouble for it, like I would do this or something like that. But in this show they actually do those things, they act on those impulses, but you see that like in the end really you kind of enjoy it for the minute, but then what do you really get out of it after that? Like you kind of just stoop to that level, and I think that's kind of what some of, and eventually I think all of the liars will kind of realise. You kind of get that element from all of them. Like Faran doesn't really seem to have any kind of remorse, and she doesn't really feel bad, so you kind of get to see that side, as well as the side of the girls who maybe do feel like it kind of was a step too far and they kind of acted on that revenge impulse maybe a little too hastily. And so I think that's really interesting as well. You kind of get that, those different points of view, and I guess, yeah, like a little bit of a, you know, not like a life lesson, but like a kind of sometimes just like being the bigger person is the right move. Or like if you're watching it and you've kind of had that feeling before of like, oh, you know, I kind of wish I'd done something, or watching them then go through with it kind of like almost in a weird way gives you that like satisfaction from like watching it on TV. They can kind of be like, oh well, they went through with it, like kind of thing. I don't know, but this isn't making any sense. I hope someone understands what I'm trying to say. I loved them playing Rob Zombie, Living Dead Girl, because that's one of my favourite songs, and obviously it's kind of like a Chucky callback kind of thing, which I love. I feel like Chucky never gets the shout outs, but it's like my favourite movie franchise. So then in episode 2 we kind of saw a little bit more backstory. We kind of get to see Karen's big party that she had, and, you know, see that her, Imogen and Kelly were really close. So you get a bit more insight into why it's like sad that they aren't friends anymore. For Imogen, I mean, it's not really sad they're not friends anymore, because like they were still awful like when she was friends with them, but you know what I'm trying to say. You just get a bit more context. And you know, the party is 6 months ago, and obviously we know that Imogen is 6 months pregnant. We see that Greg kind of like comes onto her, but we don't really see what actually happens. I guess they're kind of alluding to the fact that maybe he could be the father of her baby, but I don't know. I don't know if I think that. I think that's kind of maybe a bit too obvious. But then she did say in her, like, when she was giving her speech about being Spirit Queen, she says to him, like, oh, you should tell Karen the truth. So I don't really know. I'm not really sure. I feel like for me it could go either way. They play the clip at the movie theatre, and everyone sees, and you do get that little bit of like satisfaction that obviously Karen has been taken down a peg, but ultimately it kind of is also not nice to see. I think like obviously she's a horrible person, but then I don't know, like the liars going through with it I think didn't necessarily make me like them more, which I think is kind of the intention. Like you're kind of supposed to, as the audience, be a bit uncomfortable with what they did, and kind of, even though they're kind of supposed to be the protagonist, you can still be like, think that that wasn't right, and that they should kind of hold themselves accountable for it and apologize and everything. And obviously, I mean, they don't, Imogen doesn't get the chance to, but she does have regrets and she does want to apologize, and she was planning on giving Karen her Spirit Queen crown and everything. So I think that made me like Imogen more, that she was actually did feel remorse about it and did want to kind of try and make things right anyway. And we did see Karen and Kelly swap places, and she went to the school as Karen to kind of like fake, I I don't know if it was fake confessed that the posters were hers or like actually confessed, I'm not really sure. I think it was like fake confessed that the posters are hers as part of like a scheme, but I kind of feel like that was a bit more foreshadowing, like showing that they can trick people like when they've swapped over. I feel like wasn't just like a one-time kind of thing. And then like when they were listening to Blackpink, getting ready like for the dance and everything, I thought was sweet, kind of getting to see their friendship kind of blossom a little bit more. The soundtrack for this whole show is really good, by the way. Like, yeah, we obviously see Karen dies when she's pushed by A, but only Bailey is the only one that actually sees A. Obviously everyone else thinks that she either fell, you know, or was put, that she fell or jumped. We get the mirroring and we get the kind of callback to the mums when that happened with Angela, so we're kind of seeing those parallels more and more. Episode 3, I just really liked how it was filmed. I liked that opening scene with the transitions between, you know, the different houses, seeing everyone's different kind of reactions to what happened and kind of what they share and what they don't share. I like that Imogen is kind of, you know, she's taking the lead, like she's connecting the dots, she's going, she's investigating, like she's not waiting to do that stuff. Like we're not waiting until episode 6 for her to be like, oh my god, there was an A on the poster, or like, you know, she's on it, and I like it. Again, the outfits are so cute. When on the intercom it was like saying all their names, like calling them to the principal's office, it gave me such, I think it's the first, no, maybe the second episode of Pretty Little Liars, where like they call all their names and like they go in and they have to chat to Wilden, like that parallel, because the sheriff gives me such Wilden vibes. Like creepy, cop, predator, all that stuff. He's like the new Wilden, but like 10 times worse, which you wouldn't even think could be possible. Which like also the mums and the girls were right, like why were they not holding Tyler accountable as well? Like obviously, you know, Imogen took his phone, but had she not, like, would he have posted it anyway? Like, what was he gonna do with that video? And like, he was the one who actually filmed it, so why is he not at least like getting some kind of punishment for this? And like the dad doesn't even seem to care. Like he was so weirdly focused on like getting these girls expelled and arrested. And then yeah, we kind of got to see that, like I was saying, that first glimpse of like potential betrayal when the sheriff threatened Noah, you know, and the three of them had that little meeting and kind of talked about maybe turning on Tabby and Imogen, when, you know, Noah was like, oh, I'll just flush the flash drive, like the USB that had the video on it. I wasn't sure if I believed her. We didn't actually see her flush it, but I kind of thought maybe she kept it, so then if things kind of were starting to go south in the meeting, which obviously I didn't end up having the meeting because Kelly admitted that Karen was up there to do the carry with the bucket on Imogen, but I kind of thought that maybe if that meeting was going a little bit sour, that she has kept the flash drive to maybe show it, or to like give it over and throw them under the bus. We also found out obviously that Noah was covering for her mum with the drugs, which I kind of guessed a little bit. I kind of thought maybe that she was covering for somebody else. I did not think it was going to be her mum though. I thought that was an interesting twist. So then just a little like go over for the 5 girls. So starting with Imogen, I really like her character. I like that she is just getting stuck in. She wants to know what happened to her mum. She wants to know more about this A thing. She's not trying to just avoid it or pretend it's not happening. You know, she's doing some investigating and she wants answers, and they just straight up asked Tabby's mum like what happened. That was what we needed more of in the original PLL, just people talking to people and just being like, why were you acting weird, or why did this happen? Like, just get straight to it. So no, I really like her. I think all of the actresses are perfectly suited for the characters. Like, they just fit them to a T, and I think they've all done such an amazing job. So there's that as well. Yeah, I just like Imogen. I like how honest she is. I like that she is so kind of like tuned in and she wants to know what happened. And she does seem to care about the other girls. I think, yeah, I really like her character already, and I'm already like really kind of attached to her. And Tabby, I saw people really didn't like so much how many film references that she was making, and I kind of get that, but for me, I really like stuff like that. Like, I like the film references and I enjoy that, so I do really like her character. I think, yeah, it could be toned down a little bit, especially because if you aren't a horror film fan, or I guess like a film fan in general, you won't get all of her references, so it can be kind of annoying, I guess, if you don't know which film she's talking about when she says like that. But I do quite like it. I like her. I'm intrigued by her because she seems really sweet, and I like how she is with Imogen. But what is the deal with filming the boys in the locker room? That was weird. It was giving me NAT Club vibes. Like, what's it for? Like, is it, I don't know, like, I don't know if it's for something, like if it's for a film project, or if she has a kind of an issue with one of the guys, like, because she kind of, when Wes was being creepy, well, like the whole dinner thing, she seemed to have like a proper like panic, which obviously like could just be because he was creepy and weird, but I don't know if it's coming from maybe a previous experience or something that we're going to kind of find out about. But yeah, I want to know what all that's about because that was weird. But yeah, I do really like Tabby. I think she's funny, and I like her and Imogen. I think they bounce off of each other really well, and they kind of give me, they're kind of like Spencer and Aria, or maybe Hannah and Emily, you know, and they're in a group, but they do gravitate towards each other a little bit more, and they pair together really well. Noah, I really like. I think she's really sweet and genuine, and again, you just kind of want to know more about that backstory and kind of what happened. I think she will be a very loyal friend, and I think that'll kind of blossom a bit more. Obviously she's been pushed into a corner by the sheriff, but I do think once they kind of build on that friendship more and that bond is a little bit stronger, I do think she will be kind of like our more edgy Emily Fields, and she will be kind of like the loyal one. Faran, I was not expecting Faran to be anything like she is. She's really feisty and I really like her. She's really, you know, driven, and she says it how it is, and I really like it. I think she's, like I said before, a good almost like representation of the things you want to say, and I love her. I think she's great. We found out that she has scoliosis, which was kind of why she's had a bit of, I guess, like trouble, that and the obvious, you know, microaggressions and racism in the ballet industry. So that kind of paired with her scoliosis, we're kind of seeing that, how she struggles with that, trying to be the best in her class and trying to like make it as a ballet dancer with the awful teacher that she has. So yeah, I really like her. I've also seen a lot of love for her online as well, so I think a lot of people feel that same way. They just really like her energy. I think she's great. Mouse, I think Mouse is really cute. I also think she's gonna, not so much yet, I feel like we haven't seen too much of her yet, but I think as the show goes on, she's gonna be one of the most complex ones out of all of them. And yeah, I'm just kind of excited to see how her character unfolds as we learn more about her. I loved her dress with the blue and the clouds. I thought that was really sweet. You know, obviously she's mentioned this kind of childhood trauma that she has, and her mum said, you know, like, I can't go through that again. So I think in the intro it's like a missing poster, so I don't know if maybe she was like kidnapped as a kid, or, you know, there's some kind of element there that we're obviously going to learn more about eventually, and I'm just intrigued to kind of see how that all plays into her character, because she is very sweet, but then she also can have that more not mean necessarily, but that bit more confidence that kind of like sneaks out every once in a while. Now we're going to talk about couples. So we've only got 3, but we obviously have Noah and Sean are like the only official couple. Not gonna lie, at this moment in time, Sean could kind of take him or leave him. I think he'll probably die, I'm not gonna lie. We kind of find out that Karen wanted to be with him, but then he rejected her and then he got with Noah. I think they make a cute couple, like they're fine. I think he seems sweet, he seems nice enough. Obviously he's sticking by her through her drug charges, and then she kind of is the only person that he's confided in that it actually was her mum, which I think could maybe backfire a little bit. I don't know if maybe he will say something eventually, maybe like the sheriff will threaten Noah and then he'll say like, you know, it wasn't even her, or I don't know, something like that maybe. So yeah, they're fine, they're fine. I'm not too invested, but I feel like they could grow on me. We just haven't really seen that much, but I do kind of like that it's more focused on the girls and more focused on the story and the friendship dynamic and all of that stuff, rather than the relationship stuff, because I feel like at times there was a bit, maybe not too much focus, because I did really like the relationships in the original one, but yeah, I like that it's taking more of a backseat this time basically. Tabby and Chit, so they are cute. I don't think Tabby really likes him that way, but I do think they are sweet. If that's the direction that the writers want to go with it, I wouldn't be mad about it, because I do like Chip and I like their dynamic. I think they are sweet, and obviously he really likes her, but I don't know if that's actually gonna materialize. I have a theory about that we'll talk about after this. And then Mouse and Ash, we only saw him in the first episode, I think. They haven't brought him back since, but I thought they were really cute. I honestly prefer them over Noah and Sean so far. I liked, you know, that they had that cute little friendship. I don't know, maybe it is just a purely friendship thing, but she seemed really excited when they like became friends. But yeah, like I said, we haven't seen him again, so I don't know if I had like a thing about maybe the account wasn't actually him, because they never talked about it. Like, they never talked about the fact that he added her, so maybe it's not actually him. But yeah, we haven't seen him again, but I did think they were cute when we did get to see them. Now the theories. So I think the sheriff is involved 100%, but I don't think he's necessarily involved in A or any of that stuff. I think he'll show up in the flashbacks, like to the mums. I think he's maybe in there somewhere, maybe an older brother or just one of the guys there. I think we're gonna see that, but I don't really know how he's involved. But I think he's gonna be a bit of a dodgy character in the flashbacks, but not necessarily who A is or anything to do with that really. I think he probably could bite the dust, maybe if not in this season, in the next season. This one I'm on the fence about. So I think Kelly and Karen swapped places, and you know, before Karen was pushed, so I think Kelly is actually the one that's dead, maybe. Let me explain. I think maybe that's what happened. I've got a couple different branched off theories for this one. So, you know, and now she's being all nice with Imogen, trying to like get back in there, and it's all big, like way bigger revenge plot. Or that's what they really want you to think, because I don't think that's a theory that is too far-fetched. Like, I think it is quite not obvious, but you can definitely get there, like, when you watch the show. So maybe that's what they want you to think, and you know, that Kelly is still alive. Like they said, Karen is the one that died, but that Kelly is secretly the more evil twin out of the two, because they don't really show her too much. And then, you know, she comes up with this big Carrie, was it Carrie? She come up with a Carrie thing, I don't know. But then we kind of saw her evil side a bit more when they were talking in the bedroom after they'd swapped. So yeah, I think it's either one of those two. Either Kelly's like the truly evil one, or they swapped over and Karen is still alive. There was just a couple things, you know, like Imogen, when she went over to her at the dance, she called her Karen, and then Kelly was like, oh, I thought you would have known by now. But what if that was just like her trying to like cover her tracks a little bit, because she was obviously friends with them for a long time, so I feel like maybe Imogen was right in calling her Karen, but then obviously she said that she wasn't. I think one of the boys will definitely bite the dust. You know, my money is on Sean or potentially Wes if my A prediction about him that we're going to talk about in a minute doesn't pan out. Or if he is A, that they'll like fake kill him and then he'll come back. Because that's a classic, you know, like Scream, you know, all those kind of movies. That's a classic tactic of like, oh, that person's dead. Like, or they like had an encounter with a killer, so they can't be A. But then, you know, I think as well, as it's all very like horror movie inspired, I think like unlike the original PLL, the clues will all mean something, especially at this early stage. I think the movies that they show at the theatre, or like Mouse writing a paper or whatever story she was writing about A Tale of Two Sisters, you know, I think all of that will mean something, and then when that kind of comes out, we'll go back and we'll be like, oh, they were showing this movie and the plot of that movie kind of links. I think that will be more prevalent in this show, and you kind of get that fun of looking for the Easter eggs and the clues again, because I do hopefully think they'll have learnt from Marlene's mistakes and the clues will add up and they will make sense at the end, and there won't be loads of loose ends like with the other show. I think Wes and Tabby do give like the age gap Ezria vibe, but I don't think it's going to be an Ezria vibe at all. I think this is kind of their chance, especially with all the backlash that Ezria has kind of received post the show, like kind of in retrospect with people going back and watching it. I don't think they would do that again. I think this is kind of their chance to do over that and not fall into that ditch, and they're gonna have this age gap thing, but they're gonna nip it in the bud, and they're gonna make sure that he's portrayed as creepy. They're gonna make sure that Tabitha doesn't fall for him, or that if she, like, because I don't think she is, I think she knows that he's creepy, so I don't think it's gonna be romanticized at all. You know, he's obviously, I think he's like supposed to be like 36, so that's like even older than Ezra was. So yeah, I think they kind of learnt from the old show, and they're not going to go down that road. There's more to the flash drive that Tabby has, whether they're going to find out that Noah didn't actually destroy it, or, you know, she seemed quite desperate to get it back. Maybe the video of the boys in the locker room is on there, you know, and that's why she wanted it back so bad. Maybe Wes has seen it, and he's seen the video and is going to kind of like threaten her with it, or like kind of blackmail her with it, something like that. Because I think there's definitely more to that video, because they literally haven't spoken about it again since. And my last one is that I think Tabby has a crush on Imogen, or will develop one. I don't know, just the kind of like, oh, can I like sleep in here with you? Like, I thought that was really sweet, and I don't know, just felt a little bit of a vibe, just a little bit of a vibe. Because obviously I think even though Chip is cute and sweet and they get along really well, I don't get the vibe that she actually has a crush on him or likes him in that way. And I think it's not because she doesn't like him. I think it's because she isn't interested in men, or, you know, it's because she's interested in Wes. I don't think it's anything like that. I think Chip is a nice guy and she does like him, but she just isn't into guys, I think, is kind of like my little theory. And I kind of like the idea of her and Imogen together, I'm not gonna lie. I think they could be kind of sweet. They have a real nice dynamic, whether it's just like a best friendship or a relationship. I just like their dynamic. So now we're gonna talk A predictions. So first is a child of Angela, right? So we've got two options here. I'm literally going to read from my notes because I've written them out, like, with why I think that. So yes, we've got two options. So one, I think she could have given birth just before she goes in to ask for help. Like, that's why she's crying, because she's just given birth somewhere, and that child is going to grow up to be A. Or, you know, the one I find less likely is that she was pregnant when she fell and then maybe went into like a coma, so that the baby like lived, like she's not actually dead, you know, and then that person's kind of like avenging their mum. You know, she either could have been assaulted at the party and that's why she was asking for help, or that she was already pregnant, like kind of mirroring that Greg, Imogen, Karen storyline. Maybe Davey, the boyfriend, you know, slept with Angela or maybe assaulted her, and she got pregnant. Maybe that was why she jumped, because she was like, no one is gonna care for me, no one is gonna like help me in this situation. And yeah, she lived and the baby lived, or the baby was born outside before that, because you do get like tales of teenagers that don't know they're pregnant, they don't really show. So maybe that's it. Or maybe the sheriff, Karen's dad, is the dad of Angela's baby, if the baby even exists. That's how I think he'll be connected. Some in the flashbacks. I don't think he's A or anything to do with A now. Then we also have a relative of Angela, so it could be a brother, well, not relative, but like someone she's close to, so it could be a brother or a boyfriend. You know, maybe her death traumatized them, so whoever it is, so much that they kind of went somewhere like Radley, or maybe even spent time at Radley, like did a brief stint at Radley before obviously it became a hotel. I would love that. You know, something like that, where it was just too much for them to like cope, so they had to go, you know, somewhere to like heal and kind of rehab from that, and now that they're out they want revenge, kind of thing. Or, you know, it was obviously ruled a suicide, but maybe the boyfriend or the brother or some, like maybe, yeah, like if it was a younger brother, like pushed her, and then because they were a minor it was like left out of the newspapers, or because, I mean, no one actually saw them like get pushed. Like obviously they thought that she jumped, and we kind of see her jumping, but maybe it's going to turn out that that actually wasn't the case. And because they obviously found her body like 2 days later or something crazy, there might not have been any evidence that she was pushed, you know. They kind of would just rule it as, you know, a suicide. No one's going to investigate it, no one's going to do anything. Wes is my other contender for Angela's brother, maybe an older brother, you know, come back kind of for revenge. Or, you know, maybe they mentioned that her mother, I don't like the word crazy, but they kind of like mentioned that, you know, her mum had issues, so maybe her mum is orchestrating it, and Wes, the older brother, is like the A that we see with the mask and everything, because I don't necessarily think that the A that we see, the like Leatherface A, is Uber A, like Uber A or whatever. I think there's like a mastermind A that's kind of controlling everything, obviously with like the text and everything, and then we have Leatherface A who's doing more of the grunt work. This is a side note, but like A fully just like killed that guy like it was nothing. Like the horror elements they're giving what they're supposed to give. This one, maybe a little bit left field. Mouse, okay? Almost like a kind of Mona, like homage, yeah, that's the right word, kind of thing. You know, out of the 5, learned the least about her, and could link to her childhood trauma or the virtual world escape thing. Like maybe she doesn't realize she's doing things, or she's creating like a kind of false reality for herself. You know, we see that she games, but maybe she also is the mastermind. Like I don't think she's the A that we see, obviously. But she could be tech savvy enough to schedule the texts so that she looks like she's in on it, like, and being targeted as well when she's actually not. Or she genuinely doesn't know that she sent these texts, and yeah, she doesn't realize that that's what's happening, if that makes sense. Like she doesn't know she's the one that sent the text to herself, because she's kind of like disassociated when she does it. But then again, I don't really like that storyline of DID or mental health being used as kind of a reason for someone to be a killer or to be a stalker or anything. It's just a very negative stereotype, so I don't know how I feel about that. But I also don't really have a motive for her, do you know what I mean? So that's just kind of a bit of a wild card one. Also, everyone wanted Arya to be A so badly that I think maybe the writers could see that and see that people wanted that and use that as a way to make one of these liars A, to kind of give the audience that thing that they were waiting for, and that kind of betrayal element. I think towards the end, like, people were like, one of the main liars should die, or they should be A, to give us that betrayal and give us that intense drama. And the PLL, the OG PLL writers just never, they were never going to give us that. Like, they were always going to keep it kind of nice. But because we don't have that loyalty between them and we don't really know anything about them yet, there isn't that established friendship, I think there's that opportunity to go all in and make one of the liars A. And if I was going to choose anyone at the moment, I would pick Mouse. And the last one is Karen/Kelly. A bit of a boring one because I think it's kind of obvious, but we're gonna, I would say anyway. You know, similar thing where she's the mastermind and is whichever one it is, Karen or Kelly, you know, whichever one you think it is the mastermind and kind of orchestrating it, you know, sending A around to do their dirty work. Again, in that scenario, I think Wes is also a contender to be the Leatherface A. You know, we see that he's creepy around Tabby, so maybe he has that relationship with Karen or Kelly. And then, like, I don't know, maybe they both wanted him, or like he was with one and then one of them was then like tried to flirt with him or something and he didn't realise, and then the other one got mad, and I don't know, like he created some like beef between the sisters, and then that's why they got him to kill the other sister, if that makes sense. Yeah, like maybe they swapped before she died, you know, and then them swapping was kind of like a foreshadowing, and maybe, yeah, whichever sister it was with Wes, and they've kind of come up with this plan together. And then, yeah, maybe like she swapped with Kelly on purpose, knowing that A would kill Kelly, and then she would be able to have a bit of a redemption arc, like being Kelly, because Karen is gone, and then befriend Imogen and all that, and kind of use this as a big revenge scheme. You know, it's kind of it could be too obvious, to be fair, like it's quite, you know, quite an obvious one, I think, out of all the ones I have. But could be a bit of and why do I have a problem like saying the word homage? Homage? I don't know. Anyway, kind of thing to the books, because obviously we have Allison and Courtney in the books, like that twin reveal. So could be, you know, a link to that and kind of doing that more properly, because but then I don't know if it's too obvious because we had Spencer and Spencer's twin, but the twin reveal wasn't done well. People weren't happy with it. I'll say it, I love that show more than anything. I hate the ending. I just do. Like that was kind of a link to the books, but in a really poorly done way, whereas this could be their chance to kind of redeem that link to the books with Ali and Courtney and do it in the good way that it was done in the books. So that could also be a thing. You know, maybe Kelly did feel remorse, or maybe she was in love with Imogen or something, you know, because they kind of looked at that picture and what she seemed to be closer to one twin than the other. And maybe she liked Imogen or loved her, and then, you know, when they were going to do this big carry thing, she felt bad, and she didn't want to go through with it, and then Karen forced her to go through with it and sent her up there instead, and then sent A up there to kill her. I don't really know. I feel like that was a convoluted one, but I think I got most of the points that I wanted to get out there. So yeah, that's a potential one. I'm not really sure, but I feel like that could still be interesting though if it's done in a really good way. And then, oh, I do have one more. Imogen's dad or her mum Davey's ex from high school. I've literally just written down not much basis for this other than we haven't seen Imogen's dad yet, and we don't know anything about him. So yeah, maybe it's the ex, the one that slept with Angela, like maybe he actually really liked her and then saw how Davey treated her, and then she obviously killed herself, and then he wanted revenge because he did really like her. I don't really know on that one. I don't really have anything concrete to say about that one. But yeah, that's it. That's all my makeup done. That is all my thoughts. So let me know what you think. I want to know theories. I want to know everything. I'm so excited to be back in the theory world again. So yeah, let me know what you thought. Who do you like? Who don't you like? Everything. Tell me everything. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.